We were told it was a precision operation. We thought this whole conflict was contained. Well, we were wrong. In the last 24 hours, the absolutely unthinkable has happened. The war in the Middle East has just violently, uncontrollably expanded way past Iran's borders, and honestly, the entire world is holding its breath. Multiple reports are now confirming what just a day ago would have sounded impossible. United States F-15E Strike Eagle fighter jets have been shot down. And get this, not over Tehran, not over the Persian Gulf, but over the sovereign airspace of Kuwait. Let that sink in for a second. Kuwait, one of America's most secure strongholds in the region. This is no longer some localized defense operation. It's a full-blown regional explosion. Today, we're going to break down exactly how this happened and why this one incident could trigger an absolute worst-case scenario. So, to really get a handle on the sheer scale of the disaster that just unfolded in Kuwait, we have to rewind the clock just a few hours to the operation that lit this fuse in the first place. Under the cover of darkness, the United States and Israel kicked off something called Operation Epic Fury. And look, this was not some small surgical raid. This was a massive, unprecedented, preemptive military campaign aimed right at the heart of Iran. I mean, we are talking about the largest concentration of American military firepower we've seen in a generation. You had B-2 stealth bombers, F-35s, a barrage of Tomahawk cruise missiles, and even swarms of these new uncrewed attack systems all descending on the Iranian capital. And the objective here was crystal clear and absolutely brutal: the complete decapitation of Iran's political and military leadership. And in that one goal, they succeeded. A direct strike killed Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei right inside his own compound. But if history has taught us anything, it's that these kinds of decapitation strikes rarely end wars cleanly. More often than not, they just escalate them, violently. And that brings us directly to Iran's immediate and incredibly brutal response. Just hours after the Supreme Leader's death, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps put their contingency plans into action. And they didn't just fire back at Israel. No, they unleashed a massive wave of ballistic missiles and suicide drones targeting American assets all across the entire Persian Gulf. And their strategy was anything but random. They had a hit list, and it was comprehensive. They targeted key U.S. bases and assets across the region: the Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, Al Dhafra in the UAE, the U.S. Fifth Fleet headquarters in Bahrain, and critically for our story, the Ali Al Salam Air Base in Kuwait. And this right here brings us to the shocking incident that is now dominating global headlines. In a matter of minutes, the skies over Kuwait turned into an absolutely chaotic, terrifying battlefield. To understand what happened next, you really have to grasp this concept called the fog of war. It's basically the inherent chaos and total uncertainty of combat, right? Where information is imperfect, things are moving at incredible speeds, and deadly mistakes can happen in a split second. And right in the middle of this thick fog of war, the absolute worst-case scenario happened. So first, you've got the airspace just completely saturated with friendly jets, enemy drones, and missiles all moving at supersonic speeds. Second, the Allied air defense systems on the ground were totally overwhelmed by the sheer number of targets. And then third, the catastrophic error. Kuwaiti air defense systems opened fire on Allied jets. Three American F-15E Strike Eagles, shot right out of the sky by the very Allied defenses they were there to protect. The Pentagon has now confirmed the heartbreaking human cost: 3 American service members killed in action. This incident just exposes the terrifying reality of modern warfare, that when you have all this high-tech chaos, human error and system miscalculations aren't just possible, they're almost inevitable, and they are deadly. As you can imagine, the strategic and political fallout from this friendly fire incident is already sending massive shockwaves, not just through Washington, but literally all around the globe. But the official story coming out of Washington, well, it paints a very different picture. President Donald Trump addressed the nation, saying that the operation is moving rapidly and ahead of schedule. And he told the Iranian people that the hour of their freedom is at hand. But there's a huge disconnect between that official narrative and the grim reality on the ground. Washington is promising a swift, clean victory, but the fact is, U.S. jets are down in Allied airspace. They claim the conflict is contained, but it's clearly become a regional explosion. It proves that Iran's whole strategy is still more than capable of inflicting incredibly deep wounds. Okay, so you might be watching this from thousands of miles away, thinking this doesn't really affect you. But the moment those jets went down, this conflict officially expanded to the economic front. And that's exactly where it starts to impact your life, directly.
So let's just look at the domino effect here. Global financial markets, they're already in a panic. With the Persian Gulf now basically an active war zone, global shipping is grinding to a halt, which creates the potential for a massive oil shock. And what does that mean? It means a very real risk of skyrocketing prices at the gas pump, which in turn fuels widespread inflation on everything, from the food you buy to every product on the shelves.
So, with the military, political, and economic stakes this unbelievably high, the big question is, where does this all go from here?
Well, one thing is for sure, the United States and Israel are not backing down. Operation Epic Fury is an ongoing campaign, and the mission is to systematically dismantle Iran's nuclear and military infrastructure. So the stakes remain incredibly high.
Which really leaves us with this final, critical question. Will all this pressure actually lead to the Iranian regime's collapse, which is what Washington is hoping for? Or has this tragic incident over Kuwait just triggered a horrifying spiral into a prolonged, chaotic war that pulls in the entire world? Honestly, the next few days are going to be absolutely critical.